TRON franchise isn't super mainstream, however it has a very important impact on the film industry with such revolutionary technology that we'll be talking about in this video. And having been around for 43 years, only just now receives its third theatrically released film. So we're going to be looking at those three plus a special edition as well and rank them from worst to best. But before we do, please let me know what you think down below. I'm interested to see, and yeah, let's get into it. You probably guessed it, but that special edition is the short film TRON the Next Day, which came out after TRON Legacy, and it essentially serves as a bit of a sequel to TRON Legacy and a prequel to what was going to be the next TRON film, but ultimately that never happened. So all this film really does is provide a little bit of context and presents an idea which went nowhere, or at least hasn't been explored yet, and it's been like 14 years since that short came out. This short film is very different to the theatrically released films, as this is obviously smaller budget and just kind of explores some of the company side of things outside of the grid. I was never really super fascinated by that element of the TRON franchise, so I didn't really latch onto this short all that much, but I guess it's always helpful to have even a smidge more context in any situation. It's quite a hard one to rank and review because it is kind of shot in like this documentary form, but containing real footage from Comic-Con, I believe, with fans, which was quite cool, but ultimately I didn't get much out of it and didn't feel super invested in what was going on. I actually had to rewatch it because as soon as I watched it, I forgot about it before I could even do my review. So if you're a diehard fan of the franchise, then by all means give it a watch because, as I said, you get some more added context and a glimpse of what could have been. However, if you're a casual viewer, you're fine to just stick to these three films. Out of the actual films, I do have the original in last place, and I know that must be a very controversial opinion. However, I just didn't really enjoy it. Obviously, this is a groundbreaking film with some revolutionary techniques, and I can acknowledge that and respect that heavily, and because of that, I wish I did enjoy this film more. However, I never watched this growing up. I don't have any nostalgia for it. I only watched it for the first time before TRON Ares came out, so I felt nothing for this franchise going in to watch this film, given I didn't watch it when it came out, and obviously technology has massively advanced since then. It just felt very outdated to me. Not the most pleasant film to watch in terms of appearance. I can acknowledge it's cool, but watching an entire film mostly done in this format, it was just hard to sit through for me. It's such a difficult way of expressing my feelings about this film because I respect it highly for what it's done, because I've seen how much effort they put into the grid and the appearance of all the characters behind the scenes, whether that's through the costumes, just what they did in the editing room. I praise them highly for that, but I can't lie and say I loved it watching it in 2025 when technology has come so far. And my opinions don't just purely lie with that aspect of this film. I wasn't super invested in the plot or characters as well. I thought they were quite thin in terms of depth and development. So when you've got a story and characters you don't really care for and something you don't enjoy looking at for long periods of time, I felt like I had no choice but to put it this low down and in last place out of the main trilogy. So yeah, I know I'm gonna get some heat for that in the comments, but yeah, TRON is my least favorite of the films. Having said that, TRON Ares isn't actually that big of a jump in this list compared to TRON. Yes, obviously visual effects much better here, much slicker, and of course the main appeal of this film, you know, with the immensely colourful sequences, you mix that with the visual side of things and implement some action with that, and it's just a recipe for success. And saying that, the action is actually quite mediocre, I found, but once you bring in the visual effects and such an adrenaline-filled score by Nine Inch Nails, this is just feels so epic in so many areas. That novelty quickly wears off when you watch the whole film and not just clips, because again, this story and characters are so underdeveloped and just the writing in general is fairly messy, so I don't really care too much for what is going on in the screen other than the cool action scenes, as it just felt a bit hollow past that. Now looking into it, I seem to be a bit harsher on this film than most people, and you can have an enjoyable time with it, but it's just not one you're really going to remember all that well. And yeah, I'm sure in a few months' time I won't even think about Tron Ares all that much. But coming in at first place is Tron Legacy, the long-awaited sequel to the original, and this is much more suited to me. As someone who grew up in the mid-2000s and 2010s, this was such an epic experience. This was the only Tron film that I had actually seen prior to, well, Ares, but now that I'm saying that, I realised it was only this and Tron that had been out. But yeah, I'd never watched the original. I had watched this when it first came out. It still holds up. It's a very breathtaking film in its visual style. Similarly to Tron, it's quite groundbreaking to the extent that it uses its special effects. And here it actually has aged well. I know it was only 15 years ago, but there are some aspects where the age does show. And speaking of age, the de-aging tech is not the finest from this film, as we get PS3 looking Jeff Bridges, and that in itself just shows how far that technology has come, because nowadays it's pretty good. This is the one Tron film where I do actually feel something for the characters and the story. Yeah, the story is a bit basic and the characters aren't super fleshed out, but they do enough to make you want to follow them along on this journey, and I'm sure the beautifully depicted world also helps with that. The action scenes are just simply epic. Like, as I said, the environment is the perfect place for it, and when you bring in that Daft Punk score as well, it just elevates it to a new level. But yeah, while there is a few basic elements, you know, the story, the character development, I think enough is done for me to have a very enjoyable experience with this, and one which finds itself easily in at first place. So let me know what your ranking is down below. I'm interested to hear. This was my one, and I'm sure that Tron placement might rustle a few feathers, so to speak, but I stand by it, and I need to be truthful in these rankings after all. I have started to release some short reviews on YouTube Shorts as well as TikTok, and after this video I'm going to be releasing a condensed ranking of the Tron franchise, which I'm going to start doing with all the ranking videos I upload, so make sure to keep an eye out for that. But yeah, if you could like and subscribe as well, that would just be amazing. Slowly crawling towards 500 subscribers, which would be so cool to hit, so if you could help me with that, it would mean a lot. But yeah, so thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope to see you in my next one.